I'm going to read the beginning of a story called Neighborhood for Someone Else, which I believe was in the May-June issue of Analog in 2019. A Neighborhood for Someone Else. Chatty expats in waiting rooms often tell Berta how unsettling they find the local architecture. They confess to her in two loud whispers that even the elevator's passenger car set them on edge. That here on the planet's surface, in the undulating valleys of alien streets, they feel constantly under siege. When Berta frowns, they quote some essay they all seem to have read about the inescapable foreignness of this urban geometry. They explain to her that every angle and plane is fundamentally at odds with how a human expects a room to be shaped, how a building should rise from the ground. Berta's shrug is a lie, but it tells the story she's chosen for herself. That she belongs on this planet, that she can build a home here, but not in this city, not in transition. More precisely translated, the city's alien name is Respite on the Salt Road to Who You Are Becoming. Today, Berta is becoming a permanent resident. She's reached the end of her own road at last. She will meet with her immigration caseworker tonight, and in the hours between now and then, an acquaintance will distract her with a play. She's on her way to meet them when she pauses at the apex of a bridge over the river. From here, she can already see the flicker of lit signs in human scripts, blinking at her from between jagged profiles of alien townhouses. The acquaintance, Kath, isn't expecting her for another quarter hour, and so Berta can afford a few minutes to enjoy the view. She watches as crowds filter into the open-air theaterettes that line the riverbank, the opaline Gorgon blurs of aliens seen at a distance. Then she turns and stands with her back to the river, her fingertips on the too-low railing, and she soaks in the conversations of passers-by, catching a sibilant, reedy whisper, the flick of a crest, a sour whiff of friendliness. She can tell which of these aliens will follow the road all the way into the expat neighborhood. Those beleaguered souls waft floral grimness, wear plugs in their ears and masks pulled over their noses, or rather, what Berta calls ears and noses when she thinks in her native tongue. A human alone can be tolerated, but no alien would suffer unshielded through the crashing, chaotic, stinking roar of hundreds of humans together, blithely and blindly living out their lives, their voices and their bodies all shouting at once. Berta savors the peace of the bridge while she's able. She breathes in deep of river brine and tidy pheromones. Then she smears a film of peppermint oil under her nostrils and walks down to the far bank of the river, through sea urchin shapes of cheap alien housing, into the enclave of concrete and right angles where Kath is waiting for her. The alien word for where the expats live is a sweet puff of exhaustion and muttered breath, which translates to something like sweaty noise village. Humans call it the neighborhood, a little pocket of ease which they have carved for themselves in the years since their embassy opened. First a block of apartments, then a market, then a coffee shop, pushing outward one building at a time until they swallowed the old alien perfume district whole. The blaring creep of the neighborhood has reached a little further since Berta was last here, out on the southernmost tip of this island city. That must have been a whole chime ago, if not longer. Her work and her apartment are both near the daughter of a bitter salt alien words are hard to say. The daughter of a bitter salt sun consulate, which in turn is nestled in a ring of dignitary housing. Alien dignitaries there on alien business, which even Berta only understands in fragments. Most humans are content to ignore Berta, or haven't been in transition long enough to hear the jokes about her. Kath either hasn't heard them or didn't care when she first met Berta in the Immigrant Services waiting room, and over time her vague friendliness has intensified into a campaign. Like most of the expats, Kath is bemused by the quiet women with the olfactory implants and affected gestures. Uniquely, she's made a project of Berta's isolation. Now Kath waves to Berta from a small table just inside the cafe. "Looks like we're celebrating," she says as Berta takes a ginger seat. She's smiling and she smells of beer. "Got the news on my way out of the office." "Your visa," Berta says. What else could it be? "Apparently they just want me up to speed before second bell, so they paid to have my application expedited." Kath's laughter is self-conscious, a little rueful. I thought I'd get to take a little vacation, but I guess it'll be better this way. I'll bring last year's counts with me when I do my bounce. That's plenty of time to make a dent anyway. A bounce is a formality, a trip up the elevator and back, off-world and on, to reset oneself into a newcomer. When one steps into the human side of the station, one exits the domain of alien law. Berta's made the loop 8 times herself, 5 Bell visas strung together with stints at cheap orbital hostels. She'll be allowed 2 more passes through immigration before they flag her file. Berta orders a coffee and sips it black, while Kath ticks through her list of perfunctory errands and paperwork. They make you jump through so many hoops, Kath says. She rolls her eyes and takes a bite of her quiche. God, this island, right? It's like their primary export is red tape. The joke is old and alien, although none of the expats seem to know that. A better translation would be, a respite on the salt road has nothing to give you but who you will become. For centuries before humans first punched their way out of a gravity well, alien emigrants and immigrants have flowed through the channels of transitions bureaucracies, hoping to become someone other than who they've been. Berta sometimes imagines she can smell their cautious hope, soaked deep into the walls of the processing center, the courthouse, the consulates where she has waited each week with a bundle of administrative incense in her lap. Berta presses her mug against her chin and breathes in coffee and peppermint. When do you move? She asks. They want me to take over the branch in Port Salt, in brain-rot hope of dissonant friends, Berta thinks to herself. But I'm not sure about the timeline yet. They're sending me to a workshop, I don't know. Apparently the aliens on staff all hated the last supervisor. Kath sighs and takes another bite. I don't think any of the expats in the office can hold a conversation and adapt it. Someone in HR has been pretty lax about fluency. Her eyes flick up. Are you sure I'm not certified for technical documents, Berta says, and then adds, and I can't interpret when Kath opens her mouth to protest. That's a completely different skill set. You could explain what it means when the aliens smell like old socks, Kath says. You could tell me what the difference is between a frill wiggle and a frill shake. The aliens don't have frills. Berta knows what Kath means, but now she's annoyed as well as nauseous from the smell of pastry and butter, which a peppermint shield can't entirely overwhelm. Deliberately, she slips her comm out of her pocket and glances at the time. Don't worry, the venue is right around the corner, Kath says. I think you'll really like this adaptation. It's supposed to be really faithful to the original. And then they go see a very poorly translated play, which is the beginning of a very long afternoon for Berta.